This week's gonna be a fun one.
Inside, and a beauty! Hall running free! Brees Hall inside the 10! He's gonna score!
What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and today we're going to be introducing a brand new show that we're going to be doing every week. We're going to be going over all of the games and my picks to see who wins those. I think it's a fun exercise. I think it's going to be a cool thing to do. I'm disappointed that I'm starting in week 8 instead of week 1. But it'd be cool to see how close I am at the end of the season and how good I am at picking it. And, you know, maybe next year put some money on this stuff. I have no idea. But I think it's a cool way, and we can keep track of it in the comment sections, and we can see how good everybody is by the end of the year. So let's not waste any time. Let's hop right in to the video. We're going to be going over every game and my thoughts. We're going to start with the Baltimore Ravens versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. And I'm going to have the Baltimore Ravens walking away with the win here. Unfortunately, the Bucs offense just can't move the ball all that well right now. It doesn't seem to be a protection issue. I don't know what the issue is, but they just weren't running the ball effectively. They couldn't do it against Carolina effectively. They're just not doing anything at all well right now. Offensively, and then defensively, they weren't really able to stop Chuba Hubbard and anything going that way. I forget what the other guy's name in Carolina is, but they just couldn't stop him. So how are they going to end up stopping a dominant run game in Baltimore? And I think that Baltimore's defense, while not great and not a unit that I have total faith in, I can't really say that I totally believe in Carolina's defense. They've got a lot of good pieces down there, but so do the Baltimore Ravens. So I have the Baltimore Ravens walking away with the win here. Next game is the Sunday morning game, is the Denver Broncos versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, here's the kicker. This is in London, right? So that's the 9:30 game. Both of these teams are coming off of losses, right? The Giants just came back from behind to beat the Jaguars. The New York Jets played a really, really gritty game against Denver and walked away with a win in Denver. But I have the Denver Broncos winning this game. I think Denver's defense is what's going to carry them. Denver has an elite defensive unit, and they put the Jets through the ringer. And I don't think Jacksonville has as good of an offense as the New York Jets do, especially after trading away James Robinson. Not only they're trading away their good players, and I'm not saying that that's a sign of them selling or anything like that, but you don't get better when you trade away good players, right? Seems like a bad move from the Jacksonville Jaguars to trade away James Robinson just to kind of prove that drafting Travis Etienne was worth it. But the Jags are young, and right now offensively, it just kind of seems in my eyes that they lack an identity. And this is a game where you hope that Russell Wilson can come back and play well. And this is the game that's either going to save Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett's job or lose them their job. I think that they keep it going. I think Russ and Hackett win against the Jags in London. Let's move on to the next game, and that is the Miami Dolphins versus the Detroit Lions in Detroit. I think this one's pretty easy. I think this is the Miami Dolphins winning. I don't have a ton of faith in Miami, but Denver's not going to be able to keep up with the speed of Miami, and that's real. That's it. Miami is incredibly fast, and the Lions are fun, right? But even with them being fun, they just don't have enough speed on the outsides or on the insides to keep up with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and that's what Miami's going to use to win. Moving on to a game that shouldn't have been fun, was supposed to be kind of a downer if you would have asked anybody going into the season, but is absolutely incredibly fun. That's the Carolina Panthers versus the Atlanta Falcons. The Carolina Panthers are coming in off of a huge win against the Buccaneers. It was an absolute routing. They stomped them 21-3, and on the opposite side of that, Atlanta lost full against the Cincinnati Bengals, 35-17. They let them do whatever they want. And so while Atlanta is going to struggle because they don't have any corners, they're hurt, they don't have the players that they were starting the year off with, I'm going to have to give the nod to the Carolina Panthers right now. I think the Carolina Panthers are playing hard and trying to prove that it was the coach's fault, that Christian McCaffrey wasn't that whole team and that identity, that they can still win games in spite of the fact that they don't have someone under center that everybody might believe in. PJ Walker had one hell of a game, but I'm going to ride the hot hand here. I'm going to have Carolina winning in Atlanta. But like I said, this is a surprising divisional game that's going to be a fun watch. I'm excited actually to watch this game. Moving into the next game, now we're going to go Arizona Cardinals versus the Minnesota Vikings. And I think that there's two things here. One, Arizona, they won on Thursday Night Football, so they get a long week here. And they scored a ton of points, 42 points on a not too shabby New Orleans team. I think New Orleans is a team that can and should be taken seriously. That being said, Minnesota, I think, is just going to be too much to handle for Arizona. That's why I have Minnesota winning. You also take into consideration that Minnesota is coming off of a bye. It's at home in Minnesota. It doesn't matter that the Cardinals looked like a new team and they look like they might be trying to save Cliff Kingsbury's job, and it might be the beginning of the turnaround, but it's going to have to come after the Minnesota Vikings game because the Vikings are just one of the better teams in the NFL right now, and that's just the reality of it. It's the Chicago Bears versus the Dallas Cowboys next, and I have Dallas walking away and winning this game. Chicago did just come off of a massive win in Gillette Stadium against the New England Patriots. Absolutely annihilated them, 33 points to 14. It was great. That does not change the fact that the Bears are the Bears. They are not a good football team. They are not playing good football at all. And the Dallas Cowboys are a good football team. That's just, I know that no one likes to say it, but that's the reality of it. They've got a dominant defense in Dallas, and this is going to be the second week with Dak Prescott back. You're going to assume that offense is going to show up better than what we saw from Dallas this past week against the Lions, and they won that game pretty good, right? So Dallas got to be there. Moving on to the next game, it's the Las Vegas Raiders versus the New Orleans Saints. And the fun thing about this game is that both of these teams are fighting to keep their playoffs and their season alive, right? Both teams going into this game are 2-4. New Orleans is 2-5 because the Raiders already had their bye week. But ultimately, I looked at this game and I thought, hey, these are two really close teams. And the thing that I chose to walk away with and the team that I think is going to win is the New Orleans Saints, just because I have more faith in the New Orleans Saints coaching staff and the New Orleans Saints roster than I do with the Las Vegas Raiders. And that sucks because I like Derek Carr. And Devontae Adams? No, not Devontae. Whatever. The wide receiver that they traded from Green Bay, too many names in my head, I forget his name. Let me know in the comment section below. He's just great, but that's it. Josh Jacobs is going absolutely insane, which sucks because if he was doing not as good, I would have said for the Jets to trade for Josh Jacobs, but that's way too much now. He's absolutely playing out of his mind. I just think that New Orleans is a better roster right now, and that's who I'm going to be picking there. Moving on, we're going to go to the next game. It's Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Philadelphia Eagles with rest. Do I have to say much more there? The Steelers are chippy, and they're a fun team, but they're just not a good team, in my opinion, right now. As long as Matt Canada is there calling plays on offense, these wide receivers aren't getting open. The run game isn't dynamic. They're not protecting Kenny Pickett well enough, and Kenny's throwing interceptions, and they're a young team, and they look like a young team, and that's okay. Philadelphia is a playoff team. They are a Super Bowl contender. They are undefeated, and I'm going to have them remaining undefeated moving into Week 8. Next game is the New England Patriots versus the New York Jets. Guys, if you want a full breakdown of my thoughts on this game, hit the subscribe button. A lot of videos are going to be coming out, so I'm just going to tell you who I think is going to win. If you want a deeper breakdown of it, watch those videos. But I think the New York Jets walk away with the win here. If you want to know why, stay tuned. More videos to come. Next game is the Tennessee Titans versus the Houston Texans in Houston. This is just one of those easy games that you got to call. It's the Tennessee Titans are going to win this game. They're the best team in the AFC South. I don't think it's close. The Houston Texans are possibly the worst team in the NFL, and it's not even close. Houston's got some promising pieces on their team, right? And Dameon Pierce might stay in the running for Offensive Rookie of the Year, for a couple of weeks. But Ultimately, Houston has too many holes. I don't necessarily totally believe in that coaching staff. Lovie Smith is the head coach. He was okay with tanking, where he pulled out all of his starters when they had a shot because they wanted a better draft position. It just kind of, the writing on the wall, the writing is on the wall when it comes to Houston. They're a bad team. They're going for the number 1 overall pick, and that's pretty simple there. The next game, and I hated doing this game, it was the New York Giants versus Seattle Seahawks, because I love both of these teams' stories. The Giants going into this game are going to be 6-1. The Seattle Seahawks are 4-3, and Geno Smith looks like an elite quarterback. It's awesome, but I had to go with the offense that I think was going to overcome the other team's defense more, and I think that that's Seattle. Seattle's offense is firing on all cylinders. They are scoring points in bunches, and even though Seattle's defense isn't that great, they're going to score a bunch of points on that New York Giants defense, in my opinion. Seattle's doing everything right on offense. And I don't know how close or bad or anything that this is going to happen, but I hope I'm wrong here, because I would love to see New York continue to win and New York football continue to win. But for right now, I have the Seattle Seahawks winning. That travel from across the country is brutal for the Giants, and that one sucked to say. Now we have the Washington Commanders versus the Indianapolis Colts, and this is a fun one. The Colts just benched Matt Ryan for Sam Ehlinger, who's going to be a second-year quarterback. The Colts are fighting, obviously, to stay competitive in the AFC South, which is a not competitive division. But the Washington Commanders have rallied behind Taylor Heinicke, as they did last year. And the Commanders are coming off of a big win against the Green Bay Packers. Guys, I have the Commanders walking away and winning this game. I'm going to ride the hot hand here. Taylor Heinicke is legit, and they're not that far out of the division in the NFC East. And with the rest of the NFC, how it looks, the NFC East could be a competitive division. That's assuming the Commanders can figure out what's going on and Taylor Heinicke continues to be Taylor Heinicke. When are the Commanders finally going to own up to it and give this man his due and just run the rest of the season with him, in my opinion? 3 more games. The last game before Sunday Night Football is the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are coming off of a bye week, so you hope that they got healthy and they were able to recover a couple of players and they were just rest, right? Rest matters in the NFL. And then you got the San Francisco 49ers. They did just add a massive piece in Christian McCaffrey, and now with an actual week of the playbook and training and being in the facility for more than 2 or 3 days, the expectation is that he's going to have a much bigger role. But ultimately, I picked the Los Angeles Rams to win this game purely based on parity. The first time they matched up, the San Francisco 49ers won, and I think that this whole division is going to go 3-3, if I'm being honest. They're one of the better divisions in football, and so that's it. That's how I have it. And then we go to Sunday Night Football. It's the Green Bay Packers versus the Buffalo Bills. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. The Buffalo Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL right now, probably the best team in the NFL right now, and they're coming off of a bye week, so they have rest, so you're assuming that they're going to get healthy. And then the Green Bay Packers are one of the worst teams in the NFL right now. They are not playing up to their potential, and I don't mean like one of the worst teams. I mean like when it comes to expectation and living up to it, they're not doing it. Aaron hasn't looked good. That's both of them, Jones and Rodgers. They're not using Jones correctly. Rodgers hasn't been able to build any chemistry with these wide receivers. This offensive line isn't protecting him. And even though Green Bay has a solid defense, Buffalo doesn't care who you're playing on defense because they're Buffalo. They're going to score on you. This is going to be an ugly game for the Packers, but the Buffalo Bills are going to win. And then we have Monday Night Football. Cleveland Browns at home hosting the Cincinnati Bengals. And the Browns are kind of just in a holding pattern, right? Like they're just in limbo. They're waiting for their franchise quarterback to come back. And while Jacoby Brissett is doing a good enough job, I guess if you want to say, it's just not good enough, right? Cleveland is 2-5. They're not winning games, and it's going to be really difficult for you to look at this team and be like, you know what? They can survive till Deshaun Watson gets there, and it's not going to be good because the Cincinnati Bengals, the team that they're playing and that I have winning this game, are coming off of a massive win. Joe Burrow threw for like 9,000 yards. Tyler Boyd and Jamar Chase both had like 100 yards plus each. These guys are running up the score on teams, and they're playing offense at an incredibly high level. And I think it's just going to be too much for Cleveland to be able to maintain and hold that, even with Myles Garrett being able and probably going to eat up this offense, this offensive line. It's not going to matter. When you blitz Joe Burrow, he's better for it. And that's it. Guys, those are all of the games this week. Let me know in the comment section below, do you agree with my picks? Do you not agree with my picks? Let me know. And last but not least, go Jets.